My name is Jiekun Yang. Everybody calls me Jackie. I'm a research scientist in Professor Melis Kelly's lab at CSAIL, MIT. I'm mostly studying complex diseases, for example, cancer and obesity, using single-cell technologies and computational biology. One ongoing exciting project I'm working on is to dissect the beneficial effects of exercise, like to humans. But here we're using mouse models like to study the beneficial effects of exercise, especially in the context of obesity. So the mouse model we're using is obese mice and lean mice, and we put these mice like through exercise training. The advantage of using mouse model is we're able to collect all the different tissues like from the animal so that we could really understand the cellular and molecular changes happening like in the tissues associated with obesity and exercise. So that's what we did. We collected different brain regions, we collected heart, we collected different types of adipose tissues, skeletal muscle, and small intestine, liver, all the most important tissues affected by metabolic diseases or metabolic traits, so we could really pin down the beneficial adaptations induced with exercise training. So I guess one of the most interesting organs would be the brain. So I guess everybody feels it. So exercise could make you feel calm, more relaxed, and you feel more energetic. But we don't really understand what's going on within the cells and how the different molecules are communicating among the cells. With our single-cell data, so we found oligodendrocyte, one of the cell types like in hypothalamus, hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex, so three important brain regions that could be affected by obesity and exercise. Oligodendrocyte has been changing, and its abundances has been changing like with exercise, which has never been identified before. Basically, we did like human research as well, like for adipose tissue. So one finding for the human clinical trial is that we did not see molecular differences like for adipose tissue associated with different types of exercise training. So in that human clinical trial, so we gave our subjects like two different types of training. So the milder, so more like cardiovascular like type of exercise, or the HIIT, HIIT, so it's the high intensity like interval type of training. And for adipose tissue, its adaptation is almost the same. Like what people like did the two types of exercise. So we want to understand other tissues as well. So it might be different like for the muscle, as you can imagine, and also it might be different like for the brain. But the accessibility of those tissues would be one problem. I guess muscle, we could include it like in our protocol, like so that we could also study muscle, but like for the brain, it's really hard. So that's why right now we are discussing a new project with brain scientists so that they could do MRI on people's brains after exercise training. So although we won't be able to study the molecular changes, but we are able to tell how the activities of different cell types are changing in different brain regions, so that we could really like pin down the specific like tissue responses and also molecular changes in to different exercise modalities. One drug like people might have heard of, like Wegovy. So it is a really effective drug like to help people lose weight. So this type of drug could help people like lose like 20% of their weight like in half a year. So which was not imaginable like a few years ago. So how does this drug work? So we still don't know the exact mechanism, but we know it's a GLP-1 agonist. And so in our brain, there are neurons expressing the receptors like for this agonist, like for this ligand. So that means by taking this drug, you are reducing the rate of emptiness of your stomach, which is controlled by the brain. And also it's reducing your desire like to eat more. That's also controlled by the brain. So the effectiveness of this drug eventually is linked to the functionalities of our brain. So like for obesity, you would think it's a adipose tissue or like heart like related disease, but in a lot of the cases, it's actually controlled by the brain. So we see the power of such drugs, which we want to study more because there are disadvantages associated with these drugs. So these drugs can help you reduce eating, but when you reduce eating, like you lose weight, but that's losing both your muscle and your adipose tissue. So as some people like me know, like losing your lean mass, losing your muscle is really undesirable. So that would mean worse metabolic like related like traits later on, or even some adverse events for your heart. So that's why we really want to understand exercise, because it's so complicated. It's inducing it's inducing a lot of like different type of like beneficial adaptations like across your body, so that like not only people who are not able to exercise, so that we could eventually like develop like certain treatments like for those people, but also like for people who are able to exercise, hopefully we could also help them like to be more persistent in their exercise, which is actually hard like for a lot of people, and also to reduce the side effects of a lot of the drugs that we have right now, like to combat obesity, so that we could help people lose weight but in a healthier way, so that they won't have heart-related problems or problems with other organs like later on. So in modern biology right now, so we have more and more data, and the scale of the data is just it's just like scaling so fast, exceeding like Moore's law. So we need more computational biologists, but computational biologists essentially like we need to be biologists. So we need to understand like biology and applying the most cutting edge like computational tools like to process the data, like to model the data, so that hopefully like eventually we could model human like as a complex system, so that we know like a certain small manipulation like in one of your tissue, what are the downstream effects like across your whole body. So I think that's the ultimate goal. Hopefully like one day we'll get there.